Are you an aging adult or a caregiver for a parent thinking about power of attorney? Is it time to create your power of attorney documents and you're not sure how the process works, or you're not sure what the responsibilities of a power of attorney are? Today we'll talk about life-changing decisions that power of attorneys make and why life is so precious. I'm Pamela Wilson. For the past 20 years, I have been on call 24/7, helping caregivers and aging adults solve caregiving problems. I've also been a court-appointed guardian and a medical and financial power of attorney for many of my clients. The decisions day to day and at end of life that a medical power of attorney has to make are very, very serious. It's important to choose the right person. I'll share a story about power of attorney to illustrate the choices that powers of attorney have to make so that you understand a little bit more about the responsibilities and the decisions that have to be made that are very, very serious. Several years ago, I was contacted by a hospital here in the Denver area to become a power of attorney for a gentleman named Gabe. Gabe had a health accident and was in the hospital. He had a stroke. He had a brain bleed, and he was paralyzed from the neck down, meaning he couldn't move, couldn't feed himself, needed total care. He had a breathing machine breathing for him when I first met him, and a feeding tube. Those two decisions are decisions that, as a person initiating a power of attorney document and a living will, decisions that you want to think about and consider. If an accident happened to you, like it did to Gabe, would you want a feeding tube? Would you want a breathing tube? And do you understand the consequences of those decisions? I'll continue with Gabe's story, and this may help you decide. Gabe went from the hospital to a nursing home because he couldn't care for himself. He couldn't do anything. And over time I got to know him. He was a delightful gentleman. He worked in a parking garage, and that's where he had his stroke, and fortunately a good Samaritan found him and called 911. He was never married, never had children. Are you in a similar situation? Are you a single adult who doesn't yet have a power of attorney? It's important. Gabe couldn't leave the hospital without a power of attorney because he could not contact care facilities. He could not speak very well because he was paralyzed. He needed a power of attorney, and there was no one but me. I accepted the case knowing that I might be in a situation with Gabe for another 20 years. He was young. He was only 57. And this was a case that we call pro bono. Gabe didn't have any money. The call came around the holidays, and this was my good deed to the universe and to Gabe, a man who really needed help. Over time, Gabe's health became worse. If you know anything about having a feeding tube, it means that sometimes fluid is aspirated into the lungs. And what that means is frequent pneumonia, the risk for frequent pneumonia. Gabe was in and out of the hospital probably 3 or 4 times, and each time it wasn't good. His health got worse. He came back more tired, more exhausted, and the frequency between the hospitalizations became more frequent. He might come home one week and go back to the hospital the next. The last time, the doctors at the hospital actually contacted me, and they said, "Pamela, you're the medical power of attorney. It's time to make some decisions." And I knew this was coming, but it's always the decisions that it's difficult for a power of attorney to make, especially if you are the power of attorney for a parent or a family member. These are the discussions that are so difficult. The doctor and I discussed removing the feeding tube, which would then stop the pneumonia. But removing that feeding tube also meant ending Gabe's life. I knew that Gabe's quality of life was not good, and I knew that he would not want to continue to live like this. And I slept on the decision for a couple of days because I, like family members who make this decision, felt that I was ending a life, that I was taking a life. And life is so precious. To end a life is heartbreaking. It's traumatic for the person who has to do it. This is one reason why family members sometimes choose not to appoint their children. They don't want to have their children make these types of end-of-life decisions. We removed the feeding tube. Gabe passed away within about 7 days. And I felt sad. It was a sad decision to make, but it was the right decision to make. If you are a single adult and you don't have a power of attorney, it's probably time. You never know what could happen. You could be in an unexpected accident or have a health situation like Gabe that seriously injures you. And without a power of attorney to help, your care is at risk. If you're an aging adult considering making your power of attorney documents, it's time. Or if you're helping a parent, it's time. It's never too early to have your power of attorney documents executed. And on the other hand, if you already have your documents executed, did you choose the right person? Will the person that you chose be able to make these kinds of decisions for you, knowing what you would have wanted? Are you aware of all of the responsibilities that powers of attorney have to make in conjunction with you and for you based on what you want? Power of attorney is a very serious responsibility. It's taking care of a life if you're a medical power of attorney. I'm Pamela Wilson. I help aging adults and caregivers solve caregiving problems, and I also have a course called Power of Attorney, Secrets for Success. If you are interested in learning more, you can click on the Learn More button below this video. Thank you for spending this time with me. I appreciate it. Please share this video with others that you know who are interested in power of attorney, may have questions about the responsibilities of power of attorney. I can tell you it is so much more than a piece of paper with a name. I know that because I've served as medical power of attorney for so many older adults, aging parents, single adults. It's a responsibility that should not be taken lightly. Please give this video a like, a love, a comment, and a share. I'm Pamela Wilson. Thank you for spending time with me, and please do click on the link below to learn more about medical power of attorney and life-changing decisions. I'll see you in another video.